In the small, isolated village of Holloway, a place draped in mist and surrounded by dense, silent woods, there was one rule every local knew: never step foot into the dark path after sundown. The dark path, lined with twisted skeletal trees, cut through the forest and led to an abandoned church. No one knew exactly when the church was built, but it was said to be older than the village itself. By day, children dared each other to run up to the church and touch its crumbling stone walls. But as night crept over the village, even the bravest wouldn't dream of going near it. Among the townsfolk, the church was known as the Chapel of Whispers because of the voices. Late at night, when the wind was still, villagers claimed they could hear whispers in the air, carried over the trees, as if calling out names, sometimes their own. One damp autumn night, Lucas, a newcomer to the village, stumbled into the local tavern just as the sun sank below the horizon. He'd heard the superstitions, but thought them nothing more than tales to frighten children. Scoffing at the locals' warnings, he announced, "I'll walk that path tonight, alone." The village elders fell silent, watching him with pale faces, but Lucas shrugged off their stares. Soon enough, he found himself at the edge of the dark path, the skeletal trees arching above him like crooked fingers. The deeper he ventured, the darker the world became. His flashlight flickered as he walked, illuminating the mist that clung to the trees like spider webs. That's when he first heard it, faint, almost imperceptible murmuring. He froze, shining his light into the trees, expecting to see a prankster or villager watching him from the shadows. But there was nothing, only mist and shadows. He continued on, his heart pounding faster with each step. The whispers grew louder, turning into a soft chorus like voices murmuring prayers or chanting incantations. A cold shiver crept down his spine as he recognized his own name within the whispers, each syllable stretched and warped, as if spoken by something that hadn't spoken in a very long time. "Lucas," they sang in unison, "turn back." He tried to laugh, to shake it off, but his laughter sounded hollow, absorbed by the thick silence around him. His flashlight flickered again, and when it steadied, he saw the outline of the old church ahead, barely visible through the fog. Its decaying stone walls were covered in vines, its doors ajar as if waiting for him. Driven by curiosity, and perhaps a need to prove himself, he stepped inside. The air was cold, much colder than it should have been, and a heavy scent of decay filled his nose. His breath fogged in front of him, despite it being early autumn. As he wandered deeper into the chapel, he noticed rows of ancient pews, their wood rotting and dust so thick it coated everything like a second skin. At the altar, a figure stood shrouded in shadow. It was too dark to make out its face, but he could see its hand outstretched, beckoning him forward. The whispers grew louder, now more urgent, filling the empty chapel with a haunting symphony. "Lucas, come closer." Unable to resist, he took a step, and then another, his feet moving of their own accord. When he was close enough to see the figure's face, his heart turned to ice. It was his own face, staring back at him, pale, hollowed, with eyes as black as the void. Before he could scream, his flashlight died, plunging him into total darkness. The villagers found his flashlight lying on the dark path the next morning, its battery drained. They searched the woods for hours but found no sign of Lucas. Only the faint, lingering echoes of his name whispered through the trees.